We are joined by SIU spokesperson Kaiser Kganyago to talk more about this issue. Mr. Kganyago, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. If you could exactly elaborate for us, what is the SIU investigating and during what periods?
Good evening, Bali, and good evening to your viewers. The proclamation, which is Proclamation 123 of 2023, says that we must investigate, one, the issues that emanate from the reports of the Auditor General. There were two reports, the one for the 31st of July 2019 and the one for the 27th of October 2020. We must look at serious maladministration allegations that are in those two reports. The second thing that we are supposed to look into is to look into the issues that are in the financial year 2017-2018 that relates to the issues of bursaries that were given, issues of travel, issues of accommodation and stipends that were given to people that might not have been entitled to receive that. And the third thing that we are looking into is the issue of student accommodation, whether there was any unauthorized, irregular or fruitless expenditure that was incurred during those periods in the office of the Premier.
And what prompted this investigation? Did you receive any complaints, or were there any reports of corruption which were leveled to the SIU that prompted for this investigation, to get underway?
Definitely. All our proclamations are started by either information that we get from state institutions or proclamation. In this particular instance, there were whistleblowers who came to our way, and they were able to give us documentation that says that something went wrong, but also the copies of these reports that I'm referring to, because they were made public during that time, and they were indicating a lot of maladministration that was done in the Free State Premier's office. Therefore, all of those were put under a rigorous test, and we found that something can be done about it, and therefore we then sent a proclamation to the President through the Department of Justice, and then now the President has signed that proclamation. Now we have got all the powers to go and start the investigation.
And it's quite clear here, Mr. Kganyago, that you are indeed investigating both of the former Premier Sisi Ntombela, as well as then Premier Ace Magashule. You know, when it comes to the awarding of these bursaries, these are also some of the things that came out during the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. We also know that there have been reports of, at least 3 people who were actually awarded these bursaries. Will that also form part of this investigation?
I don't want to say yes or no, because we are not only going to start scoping this matter, but if we come across those issues, we will pronounce on them. And then from where we are sitting, we are only going to start next week when we send our teams to go and then get the relevant documentation. We are aware of all the things that have been put in the public space, but at the end of it all, we only pronounce when we've got evidence that can be attached to that.
And one would ask the timing of this investigation. I mean, it does pertain to the former Secretary General of the ANC here, who we also know that was in a time, known to be not somebody who was really close to the president in the ANC. And at the same time, we know that there are issues he faces within the ANC. One would ask, is this politically motivated?
It will never be politically motivated. I always make this statement, and I will repeat it again and again. We are not investigating anyone. We don't investigate people, we investigate processes. Even the proclamation, if you read it, it has got nowhere where it talks about people. We are, in terms of our legislation, allowed to investigate state institutions, and in this case we are investigating the office of the Premier in the Free State during the period where this maladministration must have occurred. Therefore, it is not about anybody, and it will never be about anybody. The people that comes out of any investigation is when we are investigating evidence that we gather then points to them. At that point, we will give them an opportunity to give their side of the story.
But South Africans would ask the timing of this investigation, where Ace Magashule, the former Secretary General of the ANC, as well as the former Premier of the Free State, seems to be under the spotlight here when it comes to his tenure during his premiership in the Free State. What do you have to say about that?
We do not get into the realm of politics at any stage. Therefore, we just do what the law says we must do. Allegations came our way. We put the proclamation together. We send it where it was supposed to go. Today, it was proclaimed and gazetted. Therefore, we then have the opportunity to start our investigation. It has got nothing to do with politics.
And when can we expect to see this investigation underway? And when you look at an investigation of this nature, how long does it usually take?
Investigations of this nature depends on whether we are going to get cooperation from the people that we might be asking questions from. And as you might see, some of the people might be still in the Premier's office and others might not be there. But what we can say to the public of South Africa is that we are going to immediately get into the scoping of this investigation, and that will give us indications of time. But we have also committed to ourselves that if we are not done within a year, therefore, we will give a preliminary report to the president at that particular point. But we try our level best to make sure that we do it as quickly as possible.
You spoke about whistleblowers earlier on, Mr. Kganyago. You know, will this investigation be centered around that information which has been brought forward by those whistleblowers?
Yes, it is. As you can read in the proclamation, you will see that it says the proclamation is between certain dates, and therefore it is from 2018 up until today when it was proclaimed. Therefore, and it also goes further to say, or any date before or after. Therefore, all the information that we got might be augmented by what we are still going to get. And at that point, we will be able to know. Like I said, it's not only information from the whistleblower, but also information that we got from the Auditor General when they made their presentation to the legislature on the 31st of July and on the 27th of October 2020. Therefore, we are in a position to use those documents and any other document that might come during the investigation that is related to the same people or to the same issues.
All right, then, Mr. Kganyago, thank you so much for your time.